У нас сейчас будет Саня, он, собственно говоря, один из тех людей, кто, просто, я не знаю, комьюнити Angular, одним словом. So I just repeat for you to understand that you are the person who I can call like the community guy of the Angular. So at least that's what people told me, that you are everywhere. И докладчик замечательный, надеюсь, вам понравится, и в конце вас ждет сюрприз. At the end you have a pleasant surprise. Okay, so welcome.
Good evening, Moscow. How is everybody doing? So, привет. Добро вечер. Меня зовут Sunny. I'm doing all right? All right. Hi. Okay, just before, thank you very much, Alexei, for introducing me. I'm just going to start off the presentation. Today I'm going to talk about 6 apps with one code with Angular. Who works with Angular here? Good. Who works with React? 1, 2, 3, out. I'm joking. Vue? jQuery? Okay, all right. So today I'm going to talk about 6 apps, one code with Angular. I'm going to show you how you can create multiple applications with one code base using Angular. So this is where I do the boring stuff. My name is Sani Yusuf, Min Yazavut, Sani Yusuf. I'm the founder of a small company called Hybrid, based in London. I'm a trainer and a software engineer, so I travel around the world and do crazy things like that, which is why I have a bad knee now. I love open source and I love growing communities. So I'm a lead instructor of something called UI.school, which is a new thing me and my partner just launched online, so you can check that, UI.school. Has anybody seen Avatar? The blue people? Yes, that's the best movie of all time. Like, if you have not seen that movie, we cannot be friends. That is the best movie. Go and watch Avatar. Exactly. And you can find me online at Sani Yusuf pretty much my username is Sani Yusuf everywhere. So, if you find anybody that doesn't look like me and is using that username, let me know. Okay. All right. So today I just wanted to quickly talk about how the web is everywhere today. On the mobile phone, traditional web application. If you go to www.facebook.com when you're supposed to be working, you use a web application. Standard desktop applications as well. IoT, Internet of Things, all the Arduino boards, you can use HTML, JavaScript on these things. Even on the server side, any Node.js people in the house? Node.js? 1, 2, 3. Oh, everybody's like PHP? All right. So even on the server side, you can use JavaScript today. That's basically what I'm trying to say. But even things like, TV applications, if you have a big 50-inch TV that costs like 3 months' salary, it runs JavaScript as well. And proprietary devices like console games, some of the games you play, Xbox, PlayStation, or if you're on the plane, the airline entertainment, what's it called? Little screen that you get to watch really old movies on the plane. Those ones to run some sort of JavaScript. Anyways, we're going to play a quick game. Hold on, let me just make sure my game is still running. Because please game be running. Please game be running. Let's see. MIX. Yes. Okay. So my game is actually gone up because I don't want to pay for it. So they've killed my game anyways. But we can play the game live. So can you spot which one of these is the web application? And this is open to everybody. So does anybody know this app here, Untapped? If you drink a lot of beer, you probably know this. You can tell this guy drinks a lot of beer because he knows it. He's like, yes, that's my app. Then there's Uber. Let's just get this back to full screen. Then there's SwordKit. Does anybody know SwordKit? It's called a very huge application. Slack, everybody knows Slack, right? And then VS Code. Pretty good, right? So I want you to swap. Which one do you think is not a web application? Anybody? Say that again? Untapped is not a web application. Okay? He says Untapped. Anybody else? Slack is not a web application. Okay? Anybody else? SwordKit is not a web application. Okay, so none of them is a web application. Good. All of them are. So somebody says all of them are. Some people say this, that, that. Okay. So what is the answer? Actually, you're right. What's your name, sir? Alex. Alex is right. 10 points for Alex. Can Alex have a round of applause, please? Anybody? Yes. Thank you very much, Alex. All of those applications are built with the web application. VS Code is built with HTML. So you use an app built with HTML to write more HTML. That's crazy, right? Yeah. So this point, some people don't believe me. They say, nah, it's impossible. How can you tell me that? I just say, follow me. You know, let me take you on a journey quickly. So the thing with web applications is all about devices, you know. You can use the same application on a computer. You can go on Android, iOS, and use the same application. When you're using an app, the functionality doesn't change, right? If you use Slack on your phone and you go use Slack on your computer, you're still sending messages to the same people, receiving notifications. The functionality doesn't change. You know, you can't use Slack on your phone and then use Slack to like pay off all your bills on your computer. It doesn't just magically change. So all that really matters is the experience. For example, if you're using Spotify on the phone and you're running, you're jogging with your Apple iWatch or your smartwatch, the experience changes, but you're still able to play music and do the same things. The functionality stays the same. So screen size is what really matters because, you know, the phone has a smaller screen area while the laptop has a bigger screen area. So that's things like that. So this is Spotify running across the phone, the watch, tablet, in the car, on the web, on your laptop, and even on your, TV. So it's the same thing. You're still playing the same great music that you can play, but the experience just changes as you go from device to device. Everybody with me so far? Everybody understand me? Cool. Okay, so what's the problem here? All right, so this is the problem. If you want to share one code base for those applications, you have to have one team. You have to have a team of developers. For Android, they would charge you 6 million rubles, you know, if you're lucky. And then you'd have to hire another team of developers for iOS. Those ones would charge you 500 million rubles, and they don't like the Android guys. Exactly. They absolutely hate it. Any iOS, Android developers in the house? Any native guys? Good. Exactly. All right. So the thing is, apart from the fact that they all use different programming languages, right? These guys use Swift, Java, Kotlin, JavaScript, Swift, like that, .NET. And they all, you know, charge you different types of money and different tools, everything. So you want the same application, but you're paying so much money, and all these people are using 600 different tools, which is crazy. You're all working for the same company. That just does not make sense. So then this new manager comes in, you know, everybody, this new guy comes in. And when this new guy, you know, when the new manager comes in, the first thing he wants to do, he wants to see spreadsheets. He wants to see what is everybody doing. He wants you to log your time. And he asks you, I need you to find a way to actually use all the, what's it called? Let me just make sure this is really, yeah, there we go. Yes, so this guy comes back in, and he says that he wants to see, sorry guys, I just want to make sure I start my slideshow. Again, I just don't like seeing the address bar. My bad. Yeah, okay, so this guy comes in, and he wants to see all the spreadsheets. And he tells you that your company doesn't have any budget. You know, companies never have budget for developers. Everything you ask them, there's no budget. You know, I ask you to find a way to reuse all that code within all those applications. You know, so this is you at this point in time because you don't know what to do with your life because you're just staring like, and you know, so you start to wonder if there's a much better, efficient way for you to share code across all these platforms. And this is the things that you start to know. You start thinking about your life. Like every device that I showed you there can run a browser. You know, the phone, the laptop, the tablet, the car, everything, even the iWatch, you can show a browser. And web technologies are very easy. Have you tried learning Objective-C? It is the worst thing in history. Like, it is worse than going to prison. And I hate prison. I've never been, but I don't want to go. Trust me. Objective-C is difficult. Like, web developers are everywhere, right? No matter how many Java, C# developers there are, for every one, there's probably 10 web developers. People that know JavaScript and all these things, you know? And so why can't we just use the web everywhere, right? There's a browser on all these devices, so why can't we just, it does not make sense. So this is what we want. Let's create this typical use case. We want, on our mobile application, we want iOS, Android, Windows Phone, if you still have one, you know. And on the web, we have the desktop, we have the mobile web, and we have the PWA. Does anybody know what PWA means? Anybody? Progressive web, 10 points for the guys. And then we also have desktop, right? Because we have Windows, OS X, and Linux. Because if you use something like Photoshop, you can't go to Photoshop.com and do a lot of things. You're going to download it. So different applications. But we want to be able to do that. And this is actually what Slack does. What a lot of you do not know is the Slack is built entirely with the web. Both the one you download on your computer and the one you actually use on the web. It's pretty much the same thing running. So let's start by solving the mobile problem first. Let's try and create an application for our mobile devices. So this is what we want to achieve. We want to make sure that we code once with web technologies. You know, we want to make sure that we have that code run the same way across. We want to be able to access the GPS, the Bluetooth, the accelerometer, and things like that, and access devices the same way. But how do you do that? How do you access all that? Because if you try to, when you use an Android, for example, you have material design. When you use iOS, you have different type of, if you have an iPhone, it's a different design. Windows has the Metro design interface. It's very different. The icons are different. Even the animations are different, right? On iOS, you don't have a back button. I don't know why. Now you don't even have any button with iPhone 10. They've taken all the buttons. You know, first they took out the headphone jack. Tomorrow they'll take out the screen, and people will still buy it. You know, so this is where you use Cordova. Cordova is what allows your web application to talk to all those device features. And Cordova, originally called PhoneGap, it allows you to do all these things, and it supports all major environments. So now we've solved our problem, right? Well, not really. Because what a lot of people do to Cordova, they have this 50 megabyte application, they just bundle it with Cordova, they build it, oh, my app is slow. No, you were just being an idiot, that's why. Exactly. So the problem is, this is the problem we have. This is Facebook running on iOS, Android, and Windows. The same application, but completely different. How do you make sure that you're coding once, but you're achieving that, instead of wasting your time trying to make it look for this and that? And this is where you need something like, in the native application, when you're creating a native app, you have all these features for you for free. You know, you just come and you just use whatever you want to use. But on the web, you have like maybe tables, div, span maybe if you're lucky. Exactly. It's different depending on what device. So Cordova just has the web view. And this is what Cordova does. Cordova allows you to communicate with all these device features here using Cordova. And so how do you achieve now the look and feel to make sure Android uses material design, iOS has the buttons and the icons? This is where you need something like Ionic. And what is Ionic? Has anybody used Ionic in the crowd? Whoop, whoop, my people, yes. Exactly. So what is Ionic? It's a web SDK for creating mobile applications. It is open source. It is built with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It supports Android, iOS, and Windows Universal. So this is what the stack looks like. You write your code, your Ionic code, and then use Angular, and you sit on top of a web view, and that sits on top of the native container so that you can publish to the App Store and the Windows stores as well. Then Cordova is the little guy that does the communication for you. Some of the features of Ionic, superb cross-platform components. So this is the same application running across 3 platforms with the same code. Powerful library for icons, customizable and configurable. It has a good CLI tool, you know, because nobody wants to be playing around with Webpack. Trust me, Webpack will kill you. Yeah, you guys know, it will kill you. So I don't like to touch Webpack. Try TypeScript, because before, when we were writing web application, if you make a change, you just click refresh button. Good. Today, you have to you have to go to see the Pope in Vatican and do so many things before your app uploads and all of that. Some of the features, right to left support, internationalization. So for example, here in Russia, if you want to make sure you support multiple languages, perfect. And there's some pro tools as well. So who are the people using Ionic today? Over 4 million apps have been generated, 110 countries, 13,000 Slack members, active forums around the world, more than 30,000 stars on GitHub, and companies including Microsoft, Airbus, and Diesel, Dow Jones. These are some of the apps that have been built with Ionic. So Untapped is an Ionic app, actually. So yeah. So let's get started with Ionic. This is what you normally do, sudo npm install, and you start Ionic. But I can just talk about how you start with Ionic, but why don't I actually show you something, right? Who wants to see something? Anybody? Cool. So let's see something. What are we going to name our app? Anybody? Let's give a name for our app. I would like a Russian name, one that I can actually spell, though. Let's call it Privyet. Perfect. Okay, so let's just go back here. So let's do this. So I'm just going to open my terminal. By the way, if you see any funny messages, notifications coming in, just ignore, guys. Exactly. So can everybody see? Is this visible? Yes? Okay, so CD desktop. And by the way, I'm Nigerian, so I can't really say desktop. So I say desktop. So yeah, just get used to that. Yeah. So when you hear me say desktop, I mean desktop. All right. So, oh yeah, that's so cool. Look, I could do this. All right. So let's start our app. So I say Ionic. Sorry, let's do this. So I'll say Ionic. Start. Privyet. And I'm going to say blank. No, I do not want to update my CLI right now. So this is going to go ahead and start the Ionic app. And you can see that I use blank. You can use other things as well. You can use like tabs. You can use side menu. You can use so many other things that you can, with Ionic, that makes your app actually look and feel like that. So let's go ahead and see this running. And yeah, so now I'm just going to go inside the application there. I'm going to cd into Privyet. There's one command I'm going to run, which is Ionic lab. And I hit enter. So please do not fail. Like, error. Come on. Don't fail me, not today. Yay! And we're going to see magic. And in 3 commands, I've been able to start a brand new Ionic application. Can anybody see any differences? What do you think? What do you see is different? Say that again? Say that again? Yes. Different native elements, exactly. Can anybody see any differences here? This is CentOS. Which one do you think this is? Good. Which one do you think this is? Good. And this? Android, of course. So you see, I haven't even shown you anything, but just because the people that have iOS applications can recognize that this is how an iOS application looks. Android people, the same thing. And the people that still have a Windows application, phone, device, can recognize that as well. So this is what Ionic does for you. You get all this free. So we still haven't written any code. Have you realized that? So we haven't written any code, but we are already done this. So let's actually look at the code a little bit now and make some changes. So we're just going to make a very, very small change. So I'm just going to go here and say, and take this here. I'm going to look for Privyet here. And I'm going to go to Visual Studio Code and open it up. And make sure that you can actually see it. Anybody can see? Okay, good. Perfect. So let's just go make a very, very small change here. We just make a very small change in the pages, and let's change it to Privyet. Privyet Moscow. Okay, I don't know how to write Russian in English, but I'm going to try. Yazavut Sunny. I'm so sorry for murdering your language. Come on, guys. I deserve some credits. I'm so sorry for murdering your language, but come on. This is like the meme of 2017. Come on. Hey, right? Maybe if I meet my wife and I tell her Minyaza Vutsani, it might work. You never know. But let's go back to the actual application and just have a look at that. And if we actually have a look at that, you would see that has actually automatically changed for us. So this is where the CLI of Ionic really comes to shine. As you're making all these changes, all this is coming through. So we're not going to spend too much time. Well, we're on the clock here. So now we've just done that as well. So now we've solved our mobile problem, right? Our previous app is going to get funded 1 billion rubles by somebody that has a lot of money. And we have now iOS, Android, and Windows. And I can actually run each of those applications on a real Android device, iOS device, or Windows device as well. So now we need to solve the web application because our users, they're going to go to the web, right? Okay. So what is the thing with web is all about adapting to screen size because this is what you want. Some people would go on their phone, tablets, computer, and some people that have 3 screens would want to do that. Exactly. A lot of weird people use 3 screens, right? I just have a thing about multiple screens. And you need to consider also that they would use their keyboard, they wouldn't really be touching, they would use the keyboard. And also what about things like this? You need to consider input devices like this, you know? So you have to think about accessibility when you're working with the web. Should we see a demo about that as well? Okay, let's see a demo about that. Okay, so what we're going to do is this. So we're going to go here. Hey, wait, where are we? Oh, here we go. So I'm just going to open this here. So actually, what you didn't realize is we actually already had a web application. So I've just gone in here and I've gone out of that view, but now this is actually a web application running and we can do multiple things. And we can also use the Ionic grid system to sort of like adapt to what we want to do if we like. So we can go ahead and like create some grid systems. If we have some time towards the end, we can see if we want to add like some little stuff there. Or should we do that now? How long have we got? Do you guys want to see us actually adding some stuff here? Yes, no, show of hand for yes. Show of hands we don't want to see. Okay. So, all right. So let's do that now quickly. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to open this particular application here. So I'm just going to copy some of the code that I already have just to make it easier. So if we go here, let's go to our application here. I'm just going to do this. Ion card. And this is how I actually learned how to do Ionic. You can just come to the Ionic documentations here and do this. So if you go to the Ionic documentations, this is how I normally do stuff. I just go to the Explore the Docs. Okay, we go to the Docs component, and you can see these beautiful cards here. You can see some of these beautiful designs, like this. Yeah, and we can maybe try to use one of these ones, right? Okay, so let's do that. So I'm just going to open this app that I have here. And I'm going to open it in Visual Studio Code. So I'm just going to like steal some code from here just to make sure that we're saving time. And what I'm going to do is, first of all, go back to my application. Let's see. Yep. Let's put this side by side. So I'm going to go here inside our app module. For Angular guys, you should be very familiar with this. I'm just going to import Angular HTTP. I'm just going to add the HTTP module so that we can actually make a real HTTP request, right? Say that again? What do you want us to use? Say that again? Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, I did hear you. So we just import that. That allows us to use HTTP within our application. And inside here, we don't have time for a service. So what we're just gonna do is, we're gonna go in here, and we're gonna do this, and we're just gonna copy what we have from here, which is adding this. We're gonna add these two guys here. What I'm just trying to do is to save time to import the HTTP client model. This is how you send a HTTP request with Angular. So private. And we're going to do what we're not supposed to do, which is basically, as soon as we're going to send a request like this, we're going to say public we're just going to use the map operator. Okay, so for the guys that work with Angular, this will be very familiar with you. We've just gone to this particular API that I've hosted. We're getting that API. That's going to return us what we call an observable. Because we're using HTTP, not HTTP client, which we should be using actually, we need to convert that JSON response to JSON because it's going to return us the response. So we convert that. So this is now an observable that we can use. So what do we want to do? We want to showcase the things we've just gotten back. So let's go ahead and see that. Okay, quickly. So if we go to the homepage here, we can just copy this code for the card here, and okay. So let's do site of site. We don't need to do this guy. Site.image and site.name. Let's go ahead and see this. So we need to use the async pipe. Let's go ahead, and if everything has worked, if we haven't broken our application, we should see some stuff. Yes! So this is what our app looks like now. This is a bunch of sites from Israel, like really beautiful places if you've ever been to Israel that you can actually see. So you can actually scroll these guys. So now we actually have, this is the web application here. But nobody likes to use this type of web application, right? Don't you hate it when you go to a website and like you see very large stuff, either not optimized for mobile or mobile not optimized for web? So what should we do? What do you think we should do to fix this? Responsive, right? Some CSS to make it responsive. What if we didn't have to write CSS and I told you we could do that live? So let's see. Let's see if I'm a liar. So let's go. And what we can do is actually just go and use an ion grid. And then we can use an ion row. And then we can use an ion call. And basically what this allows us to do, what this allows us to do, so we can, sorry, I got lost there. So now we're going to use the grid system to actually just repeat through the same things. So if you actually say, we can copy that in there, and then comment this bit out. And something tells me this normally breaks our Ionic application. So at this point, let's see. Refresh. Everything is still the same, but what we want to do is we want to set breakpoints with the grid to make sure that as we scale, we have that different things showing. So how do we do that? Let's just browse through the Ionic documentation quickly, and then we find that out for ourselves, sorry. So if we go here and we search for the grid, yes, so we have the grid here. So this is what we can do with the grid. We can do things like that. We can do call 12, call this, and that like that, right? Does everybody know what that means? What's that doing? Okay, so let's copy that a little bit. And what we're saying is, we're saying start with 12. On a small screen, we should actually say on a small screen use 12. On a medium screen, we want to use 6. So it's going to divide the screen into that. On a large screen, split that 12 because it's a 12 grid. So on a large screen, one column should take 4 spaces. That means you're going to have 3. On an extra large screen, you're going to have 4 spaces like that. So let's actually check that out. Oh, yeah, of course, I think I know the problem because we've said it should repeat it on this particular level instead of the grid level. So what we've done here is, this is where we want to do this. So we want to do that ng4 on the column level. There we go. So this is much more usable now. But what we do here now is, as soon as we start going to a smaller screen, it becomes 3. As soon as we go to another smaller screen, it becomes 2. So if you're on a tablet, you'll be able to use it, see it bigger. And if you go back to a mobile phone, we can do this. But anyways, we're running out of time, but I just want to quickly show that. So we've done this. We saw that problem now. But what about the Progressive Web App? The Progressive Web App is a new initiative from the browser that allows you to run your app offline. If the internet goes away, now the best thing today, when the internet goes away, what you see is a game. You see a dinosaur game. I hope everybody knows that the dinosaur is a game, right? Like, it's not new for everybody. So how do we solve that? So let's solve offline quickly. How do we do that? We come here. So every time you create a new Ionic app, a service worker is already added for you, and I'll explain what a service worker is. So you go into index.html, and you can actually see that there is actually this particular code here, index.html. So you can just uncomment this particular line, and you can remove this line, and you can actually save this particular, let's close this particular application here. So now, if everything goes right, let's see. Let's refresh our app. If we open this guy, we inspect the element, we refresh here, and we go to the Applications tab. We should see that there's a service worker that has actually been registered. So this is the service worker. So what I'm going to do here live now is I'm going to try and refresh. This might work. This might go horribly wrong. If it goes horribly wrong, we just go home and pretend nothing happened. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to be brave enough to turn off my Wi-Fi here and refresh this app and hope that it will still run. So if I refresh this application, bang. So my Wi-Fi is turned off, but we can still see the application. That's the great power of the service worker. Now on your mobile device, if you want to go like twitter.com and you don't have internet, you don't have to see just nothing. You can actually see the things that you've been cached. That means your applications will perform way much faster. So this is way better than just playing a dinosaur game, because now we actually have a progressive web application running, and we can see things that are cached. So we're running out of time. I'm just going to move on with the slides now to round up the day. So we've solved our progressive web app issue, and I'm going to explain service worker if you can catch me up on that. Now we want to do desktop, right? What if we have a desktop application, correct? What if we want to support Windows, Linux, and what's it called, OS X? We don't need to hire those guys again. How do we do that? Now, the thing with desktop apps is they have a lot in common with web applications because they are made for large screens as well. So how do we make sure we reuse that same application? This is where we use something called Electron. Electron is what allows you, it's just like the Cordova for desktop. It will allows you to share code and access hardware devices on the desktop platform. So about Electron, a lot of it's, like I said, is just like the Cordova and stuff. Some apps that use the Electron of today, Visual Studio Code is Electron based. Shopify, Slack uses Electron. A lot of applications out there today use Electron. So let's see this. This is the final demo of the day. Everybody want to see this? Everybody excited? Yeah. Cool. All right. So let's do this. If we go on Electron website, we can actually see how to use Electron. And I don't know how to use Electron. I've probably never used it before. But they say to get started, just go to this place and clone this particular application, right? So let's go to this link here and see what it looks like. So if we go here and we do this, we do quick start. And we can actually clone this particular, open in the desktop, open GitHub desktop. So we can clone again to make sure that we have this particular file. So this is the Electron Quick Start application. Now let's open it on Visual Studio Code and see that. So the way Electron works, can everybody see that? Right? So the way Electron works is you give it an index.html file for it to launch when you start, right? So right now it's targeted to index. But what do we want to target it? We want to target it to our own application, correct? So let's actually do that. So what we need to do is we need to go a folder back, and we need to go to Privyet, and we need to go to www, and we need to go to index.html, right? Like that. And for us to run Electron, if you read the, what's it called, the README, all we need to do is to do npm start. So I'm just going to open up the terminal here and say npm start. And if I hit enter, oh, okay, npm install first, actually. Right? Yeah, you have to install it first to actually start it at some point. Now we're going to bring the whole servers of the world down. Look, it finished very quickly. All right, so now npm start. Hopefully this works now. So let's wait for it. Let's wait for it. Look, it is our app, but it's running as a native application on our computer. This is a real Mac application. If this was on Windows, it would be a real Windows application. You can see it here. It's saying Electron. And this is what you can do. And we still have all the built-in benefits that we had. So now, we still have just been writing one code. But we have way more than 6 applications that I promised. And that was the whole point of today, to tell you that I was going to give you 6, but actually we made 9 applications. So I'm just going to finish up now. And I know some of it is like I can see the faces on a lot of people like, how did we get here? This is where the magic is done. So now, our $1 billion Privyet application, we have all of these applications, right? Who's going to fund us 10 billion rubles? Somebody. If you got someone that's very rich, look, we could do this in 10 minutes or 20 minutes. Exactly. So that was really awesome. Like I find that really, really awesome that you can share code across all these platforms so quickly. Like I don't know you guys don't know me, but we've just come here, all of us together. We created an application that works across all platforms. Other things to be aware of, there's something called Stencil.js, which you can use to create your own components that work across any platform via web components. There's the Ionic Pro. There's a tool that allows you to update your app live without going through the App Store. That's really cool. You can ask me about that. So you can update your users. Because you know Apple, when you want to update, maybe it's Christmas time, you want to just change like a little Santa hat. By the time they approve your application, it's probably Easter. So it's not worth it. Exactly. So and they have a lot of things as well that you can use. These are my predictions anyways. I think PWAs will be accepted in the app stores within the next year. Bold predictions that I'm making. End of JavaScript frameworks. Soon we're not going to be killing each other if you're using React or Polymer or Angular. We're just all going to get along and just, go have a beer somewhere. PWAs will make it to your Mac. Soon, PWAs, you'll be able to go on Chrome.com and save an application, and it will be there on your Mac, on your Windows. And that's happening with Chrome OS already. Concept of desktop will be deprecated. Soon, one day, you'll be able to go to Photoshop.com and use Photoshop online in the browser without needing to download Photoshop. These things are coming. These are my predictions, and some of them are coming true, so I'm pretty psyched. And the web will be the new native. The word native that we use for native apps, the web will be the new native. Like I said, shameless promotion. You can go to ui.school to check out what I'm doing and some of the things we talked about here. We're teaching that there. You can check out all these things. And yes, if there are any questions, please feel free to fire them my way before we all run off. Yes?
Was magic with PWA F5 reloading in offline was full automatic?
Sorry, I didn't really hear you.
Так, ребят, задавайте по-русски, я переведу по-английски, и так и будем. I will translate. People doesn't trust your magic with offline apps. Can you explain a little bit more?
Yes, so we didn't have time to that. So how does that work, basically, right? How that works is there's this new thing called the service worker. Now, the service worker is the new feature of your browser. Now, what does the service worker do? It is a proxy that sits between your, let me just go back. It's a proxy that sits between your, hold on. This is the service worker here. Yeah, so this is the service worker. This is the service worker here. It's a proxy that sits between your app and the server. So when you send HTTP request, before the request gets to the server, it hits the service worker, right? So what you can do is like, okay, you can cache that request, or you can say, okay, this request is gone. And when the request is coming back from the server, it hits your service worker first. So for example, if you loaded 20 images, right, in the first time you launch your app, then the next time your user wants to launch the app, that request an image, it will send a request to the server. What you can do is you can look at the server worker and say, do I have this cached? The service worker will say, yes. You don't need to go back to the server, right? So you just return the image. So now you save a lot of network requests, and you save a lot of like data. And the service worker has unlimited storage. Unlimited. You can store as many data as you want. Does anybody know what Li-Fi means? Like Wi-Fi, Li-Fi? Li-Fi is when your phone has 2 bars and you think you have internet, but you know, your phone is confused. You don't have internet. So when you have bad connection, you can use the service worker to sort of like mimic and stuff, and you can silently refresh when there's new data. So this is what the service worker does, and it allows you to install the app on your device. So if you go on like, I don't know, privyet.com, if we have that, you can actually save that app. It will have an icon, a splash screen, and it will launch full screen on your phone like a native app. So that's how that magic works. I can talk more about it. You will need more than an hour, trust me. Any questions? Are we doing?
Just ask the question, I will translate it. So you understand that.
How does this compare to NativeScript? Right? The funny thing is, I'm actually part of the people organizing a NativeScript meetup in London. That's weird, right? So Ionic, I think the whole this versus this is not really a question to have. There is a case for every one of them. Ionic is not replacing NativeScript. NativeScript is not replacing Ionic. NativeScript is using native applications using a JavaScript runtime. It's a totally different approach. There will be times where you want to create some type of applications. It will be better to go with NativeScript. But here's the case. The web is becoming more powerful and more powerful every day. The case for native is becoming smaller. WhatsApp. Everybody knows WhatsApp or Telegram? It's very billion-dollar application. But what does it do? You somebody, you know. That's it. It's just a list with messages. That's it. Most of the apps we use today, they're just lists. Literally. They're so trivial. Then you have the complicated ones like Instagram and Facebook. So yes, there will be times when you can use NativeScript. It lets your requirements be the reason why you choose NativeScript or Ionic or any other thing or native. Don't be like, nah, we have to go with this or we have to do, no. Like there's a space for every technology because they're all trying to solve the same problem, just going about it with different approaches. Does that make sense? Okay. All right.
Do I have to write plugins in native languages for Ionic like I do in Cordova, for example?
Simple answer, yes, because Ionic uses Cordova underlyingly. But you only need that when you want to publish your app to the App Store, right? So there's something called Ionic Native that is an Angular wrapper around Cordova plugins. And what that means is now, when you're targeting the web, you don't need those plugins. Ionic doesn't bother about that. So you can push your code, and all that will be taken out for you with tree shaking. Is anybody familiar with tree shaking? So tree shaking is how you remove the dead code of your app that is not going to be in production. It's like when you shake an apple tree and all the bad apples fall. Exactly, all the ripe apples. That's basically what you're doing with your code, because a lot of the code, like you use Bootstrap, you maybe use 2 lines of Bootstrap. Why is the rest going in production with you? You know, you can tree shake that away. Yeah, it's Ionic is using using Cordova under the hood for native applications because that's the only way you can push exactly. But the whole thing is the point native. Soon we wouldn't need Cordova because now before you need a plugin for camera. Today you can actually just use the camera natively. Geolocation. Now WebAssembly is out there, so you can actually write C++ on the browser, which is crazy, right? Exactly. But yeah, so yes. Questions? Two questions? Two more questions? Or two?
Я по-русски. Наверное, еще раз сравнение. Может быть, сделать упор по поводу производительности. Насколько сейчас вот, Ionic медленнее, чем Native Application все-таки?
So the question is, how much is slower?
Okay, I knew somebody was going to ask the question about performance. So, performance is not let me put it this way. You can never outperform native. Anybody that tells you otherwise is a liar. You know, you can't outperform native. But that's the thing. What is native? The reason why native is so great is because everything has already been done hardware accelerated. While on the web, it's sort of like just free for all. So if you're saying how much Ionic is slower than native script or native, probably if you write your applications terribly, you'd be slow on any one of them. You know, even if you use native, if you write terrible applications, you will get terrible performance. But what is performance? The human eye can only process 60 frames per second. If I get 60 frames per second and you have 100 frames per second, you know what? It doesn't really matter anyways because we've met the benchmark. But that's the thing. The browser is becoming better and better because the real problem is the browser engines. And now, have you seen the benchmark for like Internet Explorer? No, not Internet Explorer. Edge. The Edge. Oof, thou shalt not say Internet Explorer. You know who. But yeah, if you look at the benchmarks for all the JavaScript engines, Chrome, WebKit, they're really, really cool today. So yes, there will be sometimes you want to create like a game. Like, you know, you want to create Angry Birds. You don't go and write that with Ionic. Nah, trust me. It'll be a pain. Facebook did it in 2011. It didn't turn out well. Exactly. But that case is getting smaller and smaller every day. Now we have WebAssembly, which basically gives you as performance as you can get in any case. 5 years from now, people will be writing WebAssembly games on the web. So we wouldn't be asking that performance question anymore. So if you're asking, is it slower? I would never say yes or no. But is there a time? Let your requirements decide, similar to what I told you. Is there a time when you should be going with native or not and everything? But you can't outperform native. That is the fact. Exactly. Yes?
Do you know some big big project that wrote in Ionic?
I'm glad you asked, because I worked in some of them. Yes, Swirkit, 22 million people, 22 million downloads. No, 25 now. Untapped beer. Who's the Untapped guy? Yeah, exactly. You know, everybody that drinks beer uses Untapped. What's it called? Pacifica. A lot of Microsoft. Some of the Microsofts actually work with Ionic. Microsoft built their in-house Flow application with Ionic. And I talked about that. So this is a Microsoft application here. They built their own apps. That tells you Microsoft has given up on Windows Phone. They built their own apps with Ionic. This is Untapped. This is Swirkit. This is the Dow Jones, like the stock. So a lot of people are using. More than 4 million people have bought a lot of huge companies. Ionic is the most popular TypeScript project in the world. And that's for a reason. If you check all the TypeScript projects on GitHub, Ionic is by far number one. It's got more than 30,000 stars on GitHub. That is really huge. So yes, a lot of people are using it. What I see is a lot of people in enterprise, big banks, they're using it. So most of the popular Ionic apps are in-house. But even outwards, you can go to showcase.ionicframework.com. Let me see if I can just bring that up quickly. Showcase. Don't pay attention to my browser history, especially if I press P. Exactly. So yes. These are some of the beautiful applications that people have built with Ionic. You can see a lot of them. McDonald's, Chef Step. You can see that. And if you have your own, look, this is from the American government in Washington, D.C., African Museum and African American Museum. So if you have an app that is beautiful and you want to get this up here, you can submit as well. So many people. This is a great place to check. Yes. I think that's it.
Нет больше времени, к сожалению, на вопросов, но вы можете подойти после всего, подойти к Сане и задать вопросы. We don't have time right now. You can come after.
Yes. So thank you very much, guys. Like, this is just, thank you. Thank you. Oh. We haven't done my selfie. Where's my phone? Guys, we gotta do my selfie. Everybody? We gotta do my selfie. Oh. I don't know how to operate my phone anymore. Here we go. Yes. Hey, everybody. Yeah. Spasibo.